Welcome, everybody. I want to give you all a warm welcome to the PKE Alumni Network, which is very exciting for us. We've had a semblance of a network, but we're really working hard to make it a serious community where we can find support, ideas, stimulation, and challenge to old ways of thinking. So with that in mind, we thought at the request of our Alumni Council that we would participate and provide you with a PKE faculty speaker series. And I want to give a special shout out to the Executive Planning Committee. I called them a council, I guess they're a committee. Bill Barkowitz, PKE 139. Hello, Bill. I don't know if anybody can see you. Start waving if you can so they can see who you are. Alan Goad from 120. Alan predeceases my time, but maybe Demos knows you. We'll see as time goes by. Welcome. And Jeanette, oh, darling, I may screw this up, but Nakandakari. Nakandakari? Did I do it? Anyway, Jeanette has been contributing to this. She's been a big, I would say, initiator of this, as well as Amy Towner from 139. You guys can all see PKE 139 is well represented. This means if your class is not well represented, maybe you guys should figure out how to get participation on a planning committee, and we'll come up with some events that will please many people. So with that, I'd like to go ahead then. I believe it's Amy I'm supposed to hand it off to. Is that true? Yes. There's Amy.
It sure is.
We both have our glamour shots. They'll have to look at the little thumbnails to see what we really look like.
I know.
Anyway, I'm excited for this. Dr. Demos will be introduced by Amy in just a minute, but since he's such a sensational crowd pleaser, we figured we better kick off with him. And then we'll go through the faculty that teach the various modules, and we'll all take a turn. So once this round is done, after 5 faculty, another 5 faculty will step in. Okay, Amy, take it away, please.
Oh, thank you for the warm welcome, Dr. Lacey. And good afternoon, everyone. And on behalf of the Alumni Executive Committee, as Dr. Lacey, which is myself, Bill, Jeanette, and Alan, we welcome you. And a special thank you to our Graziadio alumni team and our esteemed faculty committee. Of course, Dr. Miriam Lacey, Chair, PKE Faculty Committee, Dr. Demos Fardiabasis, Dr. Kurt Matomedy, and Dr. John Scully for making today and this series possible. So a special welcome to all of you, our PKE alumni, faculty, staff, current students, prospective students, and guests. And in the audience today, we actually have 5 PKE prospective students. And so we look forward to showing them our PKE spirit, and we hope that you will show them that too, so that they know exactly how special being a PKE is. So to just give a little history, in May of 2019, we had our first PKE Summit, and it was a huge success. Dean Van Rensburg was present there and expressed, and also got lean-in from all of us from PKE alum present, and we all agreed that we should build upon that momentum. And the intention for this year was to have another in-person event. Clearly COVID hit, that wasn't possible, and our committee quickly pivoted and decided that a faculty speaker series would be a great way to segue and support the intention to build a sustainable way to have all PKE graduates convene and network annually, and it not to be a fiscal burden on our alma mater. So that's something that we're looking to build in the future, and we'll definitely want lean in on that. If you have any suggestions or want to be a part of that committee going forward, please feel free to reach out to us so we can grow in robust ways to connect with one another. our PKE community, and also the Graziadio Business School. Graziadio PKE Alumni Network invites you to explore the PKE Faculty Speaker Series. With the backdrop of COVID-19, collapsing oil prices, a trade war with China, an upcoming election, needless to say, 2020 has been a year of unforeseen challenges. As business leaders take on these challenges, the Graziadio PKE faculty are here to provide information and insight every step of the way. And as you can see, we have a great lineup for this for you this year and in the coming year. So we really want to thank you. We want to thank you because ultimately you're the heart and soul of our business school. The stature of Graziadio Business School continues to grow stronger because of all of us collectively. And we invite you to stay connected to Pepperdine and your alma mater. Our ongoing learning matters to us because Pepperdine fosters the lifelong learner, creating best for the world leaders. And we like to think that we all are, and we aspire to be that. Our contribution to current students is essential as well and exemplifies us as model alumnus and Pepperdine in being a university of choice. Providing career and internship opportunities for new students or current students and each other is the way to keep our PKE bonds really strong. And there are many ways for us to stay connected, and staff is happy to chat with you in ways that are meaningful to you. One way, of course, is on PEP Connect. And for those of you that haven't joined PEP Connect, I invite you to. You'll find I actually did it through my LinkedIn profile, and it uploads all the current information. And within PEP Connect, we also have a PKE group on there, and I'm on there, as are some of my colleagues. So I invite you to do that as well. Another way for us to help PKE stay strong is by recommending others to study at Graziadio Business School. And our contact for PKE is Pearl Quintana, and her information is displayed there. And it's always nice because we as PKE can extend a $2,500 scholarship to prospective students. I myself have done that for 2 students, prospective students that actually became students, and it was really well received, and again, created a nice bond for our school and the person coming in as a warm extension to that Pepperdine heart. So if you aren't an executive associate, we'd also like to invite you for that. This is a special way to invest in our alma mater, and you're invited to different events and special promotions as well. And you can email pgbsalumni@pepperdine.edu for more information on that. That's a great way to be involved as well. So this, in our session, as you will see, this session is coming up. We have a great lineup for you. And to also augment that, we also want to have a networking opportunity for all of us. We all enjoy being together and networking with one another like we did with our check-ins. And so in an effort to facilitate that, additional networking with PKE alumni, students, faculty, we need to use the form which has been dropped into the chat. So you can look into the chat box, and you need to opt in to share the information you want to provide. And by completing this form, you are allowing your information to be shared. Please complete, and a PDF of all responses will be shared with those who participate post-event. So you'll get, for anyone that opts in, you'll get a PDF with that. And Nicole Green, again, has dropped that into the chat for you to fill out and complete and return. So while you're filling out the opt-in form, I also want you to check your mute button and make sure it's activated so we do not interrupt our Dr. Demos, because we don't want to interrupt his share today. And without further ado, I want to just welcome our esteemed Dr. Demos. It has been exciting to have this launch, and Dr. Devos is a professor of economics and international business. He is the co-chair of PKE Committee, has been with the school for over 35 years, and has served in numerous committees, including Associate Dean of Executive Programs, founding chair of the EMBA program, president of the Faculty Association, has been teaching and been a member of the PKE and EMBA committees for over 35 years. He has his PhD from USC, 3 masters from USC and University of Essex, UK with honors. He has published extensively in many academic journals. He currently serves as Vice President of Business and Public Affairs for Athens Institute for Education and Research. He has been an executive as well as an advisor to various companies and governments. He was the founding chairman of the Entertainment and Tourism Committee for the state of California, and also serves as an economic commissioner under Governors Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jerry Brown. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Devos Bardiabasis. Dr. Devos, you're on.
Thank you, Amy. You forgot to mention, and I should have told you that, and everything I have learned about economics, it's because of my PKE students.
Oh.
Because each time I have the opportunity and the privilege, I will say, to teach you, and I see here goes all the way back to PKE 73 with Claude. Bonsoir, Monsieur Claude. Each time I come and see you in the weekend classes, always I'm learning, and that's where I learn economics. So thank to all of you. And then I can say, following up with Amy and Dr. Lacey, we thank you because through you, we have this program expanding. We have the best program in the United States educating senior executives like yourselves, but it takes you to keep bringing us additional qualified students like yourselves. So thank you again. So now I have the unfortunate privilege to be the first one to teach a very subject that, you know, it's not that good nowadays, the economy. Okay, the economy is not that good. We'll talk about that. And given also the COVID situation, make us even more difficult to handle. Okay, but let's say we will try to have the good, the bad, and the terrible scenarios today. So briefly give you an outline, and I have talked to most of you in my previous classes. I'm going to touch a little bit the current economic conditions in the United States, focusing primarily on our enormous debt we have. Then I will talk about the debt that exists in the entire planet, every other single country. I will talk a little bit about possible scenarios of solving the debt crisis or not solving the debt crisis. And then I will come to the current global economy and see if we're going to break through these economic difficulties we're all facing today and move towards economic growth, or if we're going to be in a stagnation mode for some time. And of course, I'll give all of this very fast because then Jason is going to wait to hear your questions so I can answer them. Sounds good? If anyone has any other preference, please let me know and I can cover that as well. Right? Perfect. Now, the US economy Of course, if we have this discussion 6 months ago, it was even worse. We have over 22 million people unemployed, the highest since the Great Depression. Today, however, we're better. We have only 11 million people unemployed. However, the COVID is here. And as most experts are telling us, we're going to have an even worse health situation in the near future until we have some type of medication or if we have a vaccine, which is not going to be ready for us, at least for the next 5, 6, 7 months, they say. Now, going back to the economics, I'm sure you all know how bad is our debt in the United States. Since I have been teaching your classes, the national debt was less than $20 trillion. $20 trillion, as you know, it's a big number because our GDP is 20 trillion. Okay? How much is today? Bert, can you put these numbers up? As you can see, on the left, shows you 27 trillion is our national debt. But then, if you include the personal debt we all have and business debt, now we're going to 84 trillion. And then, if you go below and you see all the other entitlements, social security, you're going to end up, with a number almost $200 trillion. Okay? Now, $200 trillion, if our GDP is still 20 trillion, it's almost 10 to 1. It's an enormous, challenging, difficult problem. And question is, can we solve this? The answer is no. I don't believe it's going to be a possibility for us to repay our debt. So what is the scenarios? What's the possibilities for us as a nation? One is to continue borrowing money. That will be a good case scenario if there are available other nations to play the role of a creditor. So far, we have borrowed over 7 trillion from foreign countries, primarily from China, to finance primarily our national debt, not necessarily the entire debt we have. Can they continue doing that? The answer is most likely it's not possible. And it's not possible because if you see the next debt clock, which is the global clock, as you will see from the global clock, every other single country has a severe debt problem. Japan, for example, has an enormous, big debt problem. And then all the Europeans, England, France, Italy, Spain, Greece. Look at the numbers quickly, go through this. But you see United States. China, however, it's very small. It's only 50%. Japan is 270%. Then quickly go down and see that Europeans owe a lot of money. Look, the Italians. And of course, let me make a promotion for my country, Greece. We're there. You see Greece? 212%. Korea is small, Mexico is small, Netherlands is fine. So bottom line, please look at these numbers later on and read them and try to understand what's going on. Bottom line is that the entire world has a lot of debt, which means what? Means that if the United States would like to continue borrowing money from other nations, may not be possible for the simple reason because also they have the same problem. They need to finance their own budget deficits. If it was only one country being in the position of a debtor and everybody else can play the role of a creditor, there's not a problem. They can provide this money. But right now, it's not the possibility to find money outside of the United States. In that case, the scenario is going to be what United States can do, what everybody else can do. As you might know, United States is unique versus all the other debtors in the sense that United States is the only debtor nation that owes its debt in its own currency. Everybody else owes debt in a different currency. What that means? That means that if it's Greece or Italy or France that they need to repay their debt, they have to work harder, they have to save more money and use the savings to repay their debt. In the case of the United States, however, we don't need to do that. If we're forced, we can print the money and we can pay our debt. It's something we have talked in our classes. We monetize our debt. Only the United States is in a position to monetize its debt. And therefore, the only nation out of all these countries we see here that can avoid going bankrupt is the United States. Every other nation has a high probability to go bankrupt. Okay? Of course, that might tell you something about foreign investments in what currencies, dollars versus euros or versus Japanese yen. What is the safest for them? So we're back to United States and we say, if we cannot find additional capital to finance our debt, and if we need to pay our debt, what United States government can do? A, can monetize its debt. Of course, they're going to ask the Fed to print even more money, more trillions of dollars that they're doing nicely nowadays. Of course, if we do that, in the past, in the economic textbooks, economic theories have told us that if you do that, we might have inflation. But somehow, inflation is not a problem for us right now. No one of you is losing sleep over inflation. This theory is not working any longer. For the past 45 years in the United States, since 1984, we have seen no inflation. And one explanation for that is that technological progress. With all this technological progress we have seen, we have become more productive, each one of us here. And if you increase productivity, in a way, fights inflation. And also, more countries around the world are producing raw materials and products high quality and at a lower prices. That's why we don't have inflation. Can that continue forever? Maybe yes, maybe not. But for sure, monetizing our debt has not created inflation in the past 15 years. We started monetizing our debt, if you remember, from 2008 crisis with the Q1, Q2, Q3. I hope you remember this terminology with Chairman Bernanke that bail out all the financial institutions, and still we do not see any inflation. Right now, a few months ago, we provide the economy with another $3-4 trillion, brand new money. The government tried to help our economy, our consumers, our private businesses by giving them this free money. Where did they find this money? It was through printing. The Fed did that. And I'm sure most of you should know that right now, for the first time, Fed owns approximately 30% of all the mortgages. It's not individual banks they owe your mortgages. It's the Fed by 30%. And probably this number will increase with other consequences. Okay? But we can talk some other time on that. So that's scenario one, monetize the debt. Scenario two is we tell everyone, and the rest of the world will follow us, we cannot pay. In that case, we're going to the deflation model, deflation scenario. I owe you $100, I cannot pay it, so I can pay you 50 cents for every dollar. It's the well-known haircutting method. We have seen it in other countries. Last time, if you want to know more about it, read the situation in Cyprus when they went bankrupt. They have a haircutting 50 to 40%. Your savings in the individual banks in Cyprus, they are reduced by 50% Monday morning without asking you for that. And that's how they recover some of their debt. That's a possibility to take place in every other country. Greece had the same haircutting 10 years ago with the enormous financial crisis. We have the same problem there. So something that you might see here in the United States. Okay? And after all this bad solutions, is any good solution? Good solution, there is only one that unfortunately will never happen. We can continue borrowing money. We can continue increasing our debt, and that'll be fine, as far as at the same time we allow our economy, our income to grow proportionally more. So the debt to income ratio will decrease. At the same time, we're increasing our debt. If a country can do that, then you have a solution. But for that, you need to have the government choosing their investments according to what can provide higher rate of return. Unfortunately, politicians do not have the luxury of time to make this type of decisions. They're acting on short-term expectations. And that's why this number continuously increasing. Okay? So that's the situation about the debt in the United States and rest of the world. of course, now, how's our economy today overall? You see, I have put, Europe, Russia, Korea, Japan, China, India, Southeast Asia, Arabs, Latin America, and of course, United States. Let me go quickly through all of them. I will start first with the triangle of China, Russia, India, and then China, Japan, South Korea. Let me start with the second one. China, Japan, South Korea are the countries, along with Taiwan, that although they faced COVID before us, they're now doing quite well, relatively speaking. And without having COVID, their economies are open and they're very productive. They're growing. Chinese economy is growing again, approaching, now almost 4%, soon 6%. Japan is doing well because of China, because they have these trade relationships. Likewise with South Korea, and of course, Taiwan. At the same time, China is doing lots of business with Southeast Asia countries. Southeast Asian countries, as you all know, most of you have been with me there. It's Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia. It's about 700 million market. And economically, they're growing. And they're doing business with China. And they're taking advantage of the better economic conditions in China and Japan and South Korea. The other triangle I would like you to focus is China, India, and Russia. That has a lot of importance for us, and you will hear more in the near future. Russians, thinking strategically, trying to create a coalition between themselves, China, and India. If they do that, you have almost 50% of the global population there, the largest possible market. Russians, they have oil that the other two countries they need. So economically speaking, makes good sense. However, as you might know, the relationship between China and Russia is not that good. They don't trust each other. Although both, they used to be communist, Chinese do not trust, they don't like Russians, and vice versa. Likewise, there is a problem between India and China that goes back many years. So Russia, on the other hand, is doing quite well with India. They have been friends for many years because United States used to be friends with Pakistan. So India turned to the Russians. So what Russia is doing right now is trying to persuade both Chinese and Indians to work closer together. Of course, there are other countries, you to imagine who they are, that they don't like this combination. So you will hear more and more at the borders between India and China. Little things that what can do, create friction between these two countries. Because if they come together, may be good for these two, but for other countries, including the United States. Then we have Europe. Europe is struggling because right now, Europe is approaching the COVID numbers we have in the United States. If you heard the news today, they closed down the economy in France, Belgium, Germany, Switzerland. The numbers are extremely high. So along with United States and India are the countries that they have the most COVID victims right now. So they are forced to shut down their economies, which they're going to have many consequences for the global economy, their economies and the global economies. China is trying to take advantage of these markets, sending their products, but if they close their borders, it will be very difficult for Chinese as well. And then you have one more group down there, which is the Latin America countries, that both China and Japan, and of course United States, are targeting primarily because of the raw materials they have, plus the consumer market. Okay. So in a way, I will say that situation can be even better if the United States was growing at the same rate that the Chinese economy is growing. They could be the locomotive, the economic locomotive, to take the rest of the world together and have global economic growth. We don't see it. I'm worried a little bit about the COVID situation in the United States, because the crisis we have in the United States right now is not economic crisis, as probably you have understand. It's a health crisis. It's bad and good. It's bad because we have high unemployment. Profits in certain industries are dropping. No growth opportunities. That's the bad thing about COVID. And most importantly, we're all afraid of catching COVID with tremendous, consequences on our own health. But there is something good about COVID-19. Probably have not thought about that, but since day one, I thought that COVID provided governments around the world, including the United States, the ability to create more debt without anyone, without the opposing political parties complaining about that. Take, for example, the United States right now. Who is talking about debt? Did you hear in the political parties, in the debates, anything about debt? No one. At the same time, we keep creating more debt. And if they have not started fighting the two parties, Democrats and Republicans, we would have put another $2 to $3 trillion into the economy with tremendous market potential with the multipliers. That will happen after the election. Either party A or party B wins. But all of this is additional debt we create because of COVID. However, nobody's challenging that, because debt is good for everyone, at least for the politicians that are in power today. It's going to be bad for whom? For the ones that are forthcoming later on, when the problems will arise. Okay, so in a way, COVID has played a positive role in our economies all over the world. Europeans are coming out with new packages, new money from their central banks to every single country for the purpose of fighting COVID, stabilizing their economies. The same thing we're doing in the United States. Okay? So I will stop here and then allow you to have some questions, and hopefully, we can have more discussion. Jason?
Great, thank you, Dr. Demos. So we have quite a few questions that have come in via the chat. So we have about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes that we can actually take questions. So the first question for you is, what if a country just decides to do nothing about repaying the debt?
Yeah, it's bankruptcy. If you declare bankruptcy, what happens here in this country? If you declare bankruptcy, nobody from there on is going to do business with you, correct? Same thing with any other country. You declare bankruptcy, nobody's going to give you more money in your country, which means all the products you need to import, pharmaceuticals, energy, automobiles, will not come to your country. You're going to use your own currency, but it's going to create a tremendous inflation in your country. You can become like Zimbabwe inflation rates. That was a model that we considered to have in Greece 10 years ago with the financial crisis there. They considered going bankrupt. They did not do it because of the consequences. Italy is going through the same problem right now. And Italy is even bigger problem because of the size of their economy. They're not in a way possible to repay their debt. So always a possibility, but they will avoid doing that, going bankruptcy. So that's why I believe the solution will be the haircutting. I cannot pay you 100% of what I owe you. I cannot pay you that much. Allow me to pay you 50% and we're even, or 40%, or 60%, or 30%, whatever is the number we negotiate. So I'm not going to say I was bankrupt and you will get some money back. That's, I see it's a solution.
Okay, thank you. And the next question from Jay Brownrigg is, can we have any confidence in the numbers for China?
Numbers from China, you never can trust, Chinese. I hope you're not taping this discussion here, are you?
Yes, we are.
And you tell me, say these things now on, don't send this to China, okay? Although they're my friends, I like them, but yes, it's difficult to trust them because, every country manipulates statistics, but we do the same thing here in the United States, or in Greece, or in Italy, or in Germany. Statistics always can be manipulated. But for this particular case, the numbers we have in the debt clock are numbers that are collected from the same agency that collects for the United States and Germany and Italy. So if they make a mistake, they made a mistake for all of them.
Okay. Question number 3 comes from Steve Spyropoulos. I think, hopefully I pronounced that correctly. How is Russia's national debt such a small percentage of its GDP? Its economy has been reeling for a decade now.
Yeah, it's a good, how it's so small, you might say also, same situation with China. They all have small debts. They're communist countries. Evidently, they use money from the oil that they were selling in the past, 10 years, high prices. And that was a way to support their growth there. So far, they did not have the need to borrow even more.
Okay, the next question is from Claude. Can the EU monetize?
If their debt is in euros, yes, they can monetize. If their debt is in dollars, they cannot monetize because they have to find dollars first. But in a way, yes, they can partially monetize it by printing more euros. However, the problem is that Germany, that is the main economy in Europe, dislikes inflation very much because they have burned themselves with inflation. So Chancellor Merkel and her country is they are very, very careful with monetization. On the other hand, countries like Italy, Greece, Portugal, Spain, they can go for monetization. So it's going to be a struggle there because the strongest economies, the well-developed economies, the northerners, the Germans, the Dutch, somehow the French, will go against the southerners, Portugal, Spain, Italy, Greece. So you have two different answers in Europe for monetization. But yes, they can partially for the debt in euros.
Great, thank you. The next question is from Paul. If every country owes to other countries, could they all agree to wipe out and equalize their debts to each other?
Yes, that's what I say, you know, the haircutting. It's the same thing. I pay you partially. So if they are going to move into this particular arrangement, yes, it's going to be 100% or 50% or 60%. You can find ways of doing that.
Great. Okay, the next question is, I believe that within the next decade, the world's economy will transition to cryptocurrency. What will this do to the power of the US dollar?
Look, better, you know, the question will be, what are the advantages of the US dollar to be the main currency in the world? Okay, ask yourselves why the dollar is good to be playing the role it plays today. Number one, we have all our debt in dollars, which means we can never go bankrupt. Okay, so the problem today of debt in the United States is not our problem, is the creditors' problem right now. The Chinese are losing sleep. Are we going to get our money back or not? So I like to have the dollar as being the main currency. Number two, all the major commodities around the world are priced in dollars. Oil, for example, energy. So that gives me, the United States, the upper hand there. The others are paying the price if the dollar gets stronger or weaker. Number three, in order to get away from the dollar to cryptocurrency to any other medium of exchange, in the past 10 years, Chinese are trying to take it over, along with the Europeans, along with the Russians. It comes down to how investors feel about other currencies. Security. In today's environment, as we're talking right now, probably some of you know, our GDP is $20 trillion. Our national income for the year is $20 trillion. You know how much is the foreign exchange markets where dollars are exchanged with other currencies? Any ideas what's the size? It's over 1.5, not trillion, quadrillions. You know what's a quadrillion? 1,000 trillion is one quadrillion. In my old times when I was teaching PKE with Claude, PKE 72, 73, we didn't even know this term quadrillion. We barely talk about trillions at the time. Now it's quadrillions, so the market is so big, okay? But everybody is based on dollar. They feel more safe with the United States and its currency. So if something happens, it will take longer, and I don't think the United States will allow them to do that. That's my own personal feelings. They have talked in the past even going back to gold standard instead of the dollar.
Okay, so we have time for just a few more questions. So the next question is from Sam Lagana, PKE 137. During our PKE 137 trip to India, we were tipped off on the demonetization of the currency so they could get money out of mattresses and into banks and get a better idea for who had what and what they could tax. Could we see this in other countries?
Look, it happens in many countries right now. If you're afraid that you're going to have a deflation solution, which means a haircut, you're going to lose part of your assets, part of your money. If you leave it in your bank and you're going to collect back 50%, one way to avoid losing this money, what would you do? Put it in your safe, put it under your mattresses, okay? It happened in countries like Cyprus and Greece, okay? It was the best time, you know, for thieves. They started going to every single house because they knew there is money there, okay? But that's one solution to do that one. In the United States, you know, yes, you might see it here as well. Although you might spread your cash to various banks. I believe right now there is a guarantee of $250,000 per bank. So get all your money and put it in various banks that even if they go under, still the government is guaranteed it's going to pay you $250,000. Okay? So there is a solution. But yes, Sam, that could happen.
Okay, the next question is, and this might be our last question due to time, is how could the short-term goal culture change in both private and public sector?
Tell me again.
How could the short-term goal culture change in both private and public sector?
Goal or gold?
Goal, G-O-A-L.
Whoa. That's the most difficult thing to do. Government cannot change their goals because we have the political cycles, okay, which are quite accurate. For example, if you ask me right now, who's going to win the election, I will tell you, follow up the stock market today and tomorrow. And if the stock market is going to grow, Trump is going to win. If the stock market is going to take a dive, then Biden is going to win. If you follow these financial cycles, since we have election in this country, with the exception of one election with Eisenhower in 50s, every time that the stock market is growing, the president wins the election because investors show you how they feel, if they are safe or unsafe, okay? So politicians, it's a different industry, a different way of thinking. They have short-term goals. You cannot change their way of thinking because it's the political cycle. They make all the decisions according to when is the next election. What's my goal? Every politician has two goals. I like to do something good for this country, and I like to be re-elected. Which one comes first, however? I need to be re-elected. I'm critical towards them, but if I was a politician, I will think the same way. Okay? So you cannot change that unless if you have only one election for 6 years and they cannot run again, then maybe will be a way to change goals, and from short-term goals can make longer-term goals, which will be to the benefit of the entire US economy and to the society. Now, for you in the private industry, how can you change your goals when you know everything, your performance depends on quarterly results? If you don't show profits, you pay the price. So you as an executive, you know how to act. changes this and you change your goals as well. So it's very, very difficult in my mind to change the culture. Probably you need to listen more to Miriam later on how to change the culture.
Thank you, Jason, so much. And thank you, PKE community. Thank you for coming together. What a wonderful opportunity to gather and learn from our PKE faculty thought leadership. Demos, thank you so much for your many illuminating comments and perspectives. It's so nice to be back in class, isn't it? It's terrific. I know I'm loving every second of this. So I want to say a special thank you to our PKE alums and students who are joining us today. And isn't it great to see PKE 73 in the house? Thank you so much, 73, for coming out and being with us. We are part of a long history of a PKE community, and we're so, so delighted. So we learned a lot of great stuff today, right? So we have some good news. We can monetize our debt, and we're amongst the only nations that can do that. So we'll never go bankrupt. That gives us comfort. I loved learning that. And there's something good about COVID. No one is complaining about debt. That's a great point. And we also see that countries that are coming out of COVID, they're in recovery. They're also in economic recovery. So that's another bit of good news. And we also I learned a new word, resilience, which is not just a fake word, it's a real word. So that's amazing too. But mostly we learned, right, that everything is connected, nothing is separate. As we think about economics, we also think about politics. And in the present moment, we connect those to public health as well. So it's up to us as Best for the World leaders to add value to our organizations, our communities, and to our world. And what better group of people to do that than the PKE community. So we will look forward to seeing you at our next PKE Faculty Speaker Series on January 19th, 2021, where we'll be taking up the topic, making executive presence an asset, not a liability. So we do hope that you will join us for that session. And in the meantime, we want to wish you a wonderful day. We encourage you to stay well. We're adjourned for now. Thank you so much. Go well, everyone.